Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy is calling it a red line, saying he'll reject any peace deal with Russia that does not include a full withdrawal of Russian forces from territories that they've occupied since the war began. More than 2 months into the conflict, Russia's offensive is stalling in the face of Ukrainian resistance and new shipments of Western arms. Moscow's apparent aim of quickly seizing the capital, Kyiv, failed. Its goal now is to capture Ukraine's south and east. But it's failed to make any major gains in these areas in recent days. Our correspondent Mathias Bölinger is embedded with the Ukrainian army on the front line near Mykolaiv in the south, where Russia's forces are being kept at bay.
For more than 3 weeks, the Ukrainian and Russian soldiers have been standing within eyesight of each other a few kilometers outside of Mykolaiv.
They are positioned at 1 o'clock, 2 and 2:30. At night, we can see the outgoing fire.
The Russian troops came in here in the beginning of the war and were then driven out by the Ukrainians. Now their positions are about 5 kilometers that way.
They are digging themselves in deeper. Initially, the Russians were advancing quickly. They were able to capture Kherson, but here, a little over 20 kilometers from the center of Mykolaiv, they were stopped.
We are now in position. They are also in the trenches. They've been here before, so they have dug themselves in well and are now shooting from their positions.
The war has changed. Initially, the Russians were advancing straight forward with massive troops and equipment. The Ukrainians were ambushing them with small mobile attack groups. For 3 weeks now, both sides are in a war of attrition.
This is one of our helicopters at work. You can see the smoke over there.
The soldiers say that especially at night, shelling is intense.
They are trying to outgun us by quantity, but it's not working. They might still hope to get past us, but they won't.
The Ukrainian soldiers here say that they are ready to move forward as soon as they're ordered to. But for now, each side is stuck where they are.
Let's cross now to our correspondent in Lviv, Ukraine, Emmanuel Shaz. Emma, hi there. Ukrainian forces have been making advances. Could you tell us what's the situation on the eastern front?
Well, indeed, in areas such as Kharkiv or Kherson, the Ukrainian armed forces have managed to regain some territory. So we can say indeed that they have made some advances. But the last night, for example, was quieter than before, with Ukrainian authorities urging the population to still stick to going to the shelter when there are airstrike alerts, because they are expecting, especially on May 8th and May 9th, which Russia calls its victory day, they are expecting more offensive from the Russian side.
Now, Emma, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has been laying down his red lines for peace negotiations with Russia. Let's take a quick listen.
If the Russians kill people who can be exchanged, released or treated, it doesn't matter if they are civilians or military. If they kill them, there is no point in talking to Russia on a diplomatic level.
Volodymyr Zelenskyy there. Emmanuel Shaz in Lviv. Is this a sign of defiance from Zelenskyy or confidence on the ground that Ukrainian forces are gaining?
Well, I would say confidence, but also determination. You can see here on the ground how just determined Ukrainians are to not let Russia, get a hold on their country. We can take Mariupol steel plant, for example. There's still soldiers there, Ukrainian forces, up to 2,000 soldiers who are stuck there, and they will simply not surrender. They will fight up until the very end. They are are ready to give their lives for their country. And this might be the last stronghold of Ukrainian resistance in Mariupol, but it is very representative of the spirit that has animated Ukrainians since the beginning of this unprovoked war. As you were saying, they are very ready to resist, and that is, I think, the main takeaway from Zelensky's declaration.
Emma, just quickly, if you could, how much is the recent increase in military assistance from the West having an effect here?
Of course, this is also giving confidence to Ukrainian forces. There have been also some criticism from the population on the front line, saying, well, they don't really see the result of all that aid coming. But as we were mentioning, this is very much a war of attrition between Ukraine and Russia at the moment.
That was our correspondent Emmanuel Chaz in Lviv, Ukraine. Emmanuel, thank you. Here are some of the other developments in the conflict now. Authorities in Italy have impounded a luxury yacht linked to Russian President Vladimir Putin. The huge vessel had been undergoing repairs at a port in Tuscany, but recent activities suggested the crew might be preparing to sail. Ukraine had urged Italy to seize the yacht as part of Europe-wide sanctions on Putin and his associates. The United Nations Security Council has adopted a resolution expressing, quote, concern over Ukraine and backing efforts to find a peaceful solution. It's the Council's first statement that's been met with Russian support since the war began. Ahead of the meeting, demonstrators, including Ukrainians living in the United States, protested against the violence. A top Kremlin official says Russia plans to stay in southern Ukraine, quote, forever. Andrei Turchak, a senior lawmaker from the governing United Russia Party, was speaking on a visit to the southern Ukrainian city of Kherson. The city has seen protests by local residents against Russia's occupation.